The mansion sat quietly on the hill, with lights flickering inside large windows. Inside, everything was arranged with precision. The billionaire, a man who had everything money could buy, sat in his office surrounded by piles of documents. He had always been busy, running companies, making deals, and traveling the world. Yet, there was something missing. Despite all his success, he felt a strange emptiness he could not explain. The house was spotless, and the sound of quiet footsteps echoed through the marble floors. The maid moved silently, carrying a tray with tea and small pastries. She had worked there for several years, always keeping to herself. She was not like other staff. She was quiet, thoughtful, and observant. She knew when to speak and when to stay in the background. The billionaire had noticed her over the years, not for her beauty or charm, but for her calm presence and gentle manner. She had a way of making the house feel warmer without saying much. That evening, he looked up from his papers, a rare moment of pause in his busy life. "Sit down," he said, surprising both himself and her. He never spoke to staff like this, usually keeping them at a distance. She hesitated, unsure what he meant, but she moved closer, setting the tray down on a small table beside his chair. For a long moment, there was silence. The only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall. Then he asked softly, almost like he was talking to himself, "Have you ever had a life that felt different from what everyone sees?" The question caught her off guard. She had spent years keeping her past hidden, never sharing details with anyone. Her life had not been easy, filled with struggles and moments she preferred to forget. Yet something in his eyes told her he would not judge, that he might understand more than she expected. Taking a deep breath, she nodded slowly. "Yes," she whispered. "There are things I have never told anyone. Things that no one would understand." He leaned back in his chair, his curiosity piqued. "What kind of things?" he asked, his voice gentle but insistent. "You can tell me. I promise I will listen." She looked away for a moment, gathering courage. She had carried this secret for so long that speaking, it felt like standing on a cliff, ready to jump into unknown waters. I am not who I seem," she began. "There are parts of my life that I have hidden because I had to survive, because people wouldn't believe me or would use it against me." He leaned forward, eyes fixed on her. "You can trust me. Whatever it is, I want to understand." Her hands trembled slightly as she spoke. She told him about her past, about a family she had lost and a life that had been stolen from her in ways she could never fully explain. She spoke about struggles that had shaped her, about choices she had made to protect herself, and about a hidden talent that had been a secret even from those closest to her. It was a talent that could change how people saw the world around them, something rare and remarkable, but she had kept it hidden out of fear as she spoke. The billionaire listened intently. He was usually a man of logic, of facts, numbers, and strategy, but her story did something to him. It awakened a part of him that had long been dormant, a part that longed for connection, for truth, and for a life beyond wealth and power. He realized that what she was telling him was not just a story of the past, but a key to understanding something he had lost in his own life. She finished speaking, her voice barely above a whisper. The room was silent again, but the silence felt different this time. It was heavy with unspoken thoughts, with questions that begged to be answered. He sat still for a long time, processing everything. Then he asked, almost hesitantly, "Why did you tell me this now? Why not keep it hidden like you always have?" She looked at him, eyes steady. "Because I felt that you could see me, not just the person who cleans your house. I felt that maybe you could understand, even if no one else ever could." For the first time in years, the billionaire felt a rush of emotion he had tried to ignore. He felt respect, admiration, and a strange sense of wonder. He realized that this maid, this quiet presence in his house, had a depth he had never noticed before. He had underestimated her, as he had underestimated the importance of human connection in his own life. He stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the city lights below. "This changes everything," he said quietly, almost to himself. "I need to know more. I need to understand everything about this." She watched him, unsure if he meant it as a threat or a promise. But there was a fire in his eyes she had never seen before, a determination that went beyond business or money. It was personal, and it was real. She realized that by telling him the truth, she had opened a door that could not be closed. The rest of the evening passed quietly, but the atmosphere had shifted. He could not focus on his work, and she could not sleep easily, thinking about the consequences of her confession. He started asking small questions, testing her answers, trying to piece together fragments of her story. She answered carefully, knowing that every word mattered. She could see the curiosity growing in him, the way his mind worked to connect dots, to find patterns, to search for meaning. The next morning, he walked into the kitchen, where she was preparing breakfast for the staff. He did not speak immediately, just watched her as she moved with precision and grace. Then he said, "I want to see the truth. I want to know everything about this hidden talent you spoke of. Show me." Her heart skipped a beat. No one had ever asked her to reveal it. She had always believed it was dangerous to show the world what she could do. But something about his request felt safe, as if he genuinely wanted to understand and not exploit her. Slowly, she nodded, realizing that this was the moment that could change everything. They spent hours together that morning, her demonstrating small parts of her talent, him watching in amazement. He was impressed, not just by what she could do, but by the courage it took for her to reveal it. For the first time, he saw her as more than a maid. He saw her as a person with a story, with strength, and with a rare gift that could not be ignored. By evening, he was restless, walking through the rooms of the mansion, thinking about what he had learned. The revelation had stirred something inside him, a mix of curiosity, admiration, and an unshakable need to find out more. He realized that her story might be connected to a larger mystery in his own life, something he had forgotten or overlooked. The seed of a search had been planted, one that would not end until he uncovered the truth. The maid, meanwhile, was both anxious and relieved. She had spoken her truth, and while she feared the consequences, she also felt a strange sense of freedom. For years she had carried this secret alone, and now someone new, someone important, and someone seemed to care. She did not know where this path would lead, but she could sense that her life and his would never be the same again. That night, as the mansion lay in darkness, both of them felt the weight of what had been revealed. The billionaire could not sleep, his mind racing with possibilities. The maid lay awake, wondering if she had made the right choice. Both understood, in their own ways, that this was the beginning of something much bigger than either of them could have imagined. A story that would unfold with danger, emotion, and discovery, all starting with a truth that had been hidden for far too long. The next morning, the billionaire woke up earlier than usual. His mind was full of questions about the maid's hidden talent. He could not stop thinking about it. He had seen her show a small part of it the night before, but it was only a glimpse. He needed to understand everything. He dressed quickly, poured himself a cup of coffee, and walked through the mansion. His usual calm, calculated self was replaced by a restless curiosity. The maid had already begun her morning tasks. She moved silently, dusting, arranging flowers, and preparing breakfast. She had learned to anticipate the billionaire's moods, and she sensed his restlessness immediately. When she saw him coming toward her, she paused, unsure what he wanted. He looked at her, a mix of intensity and fascination in his eyes. "I want to know more about your gift," he said softly. "I know you have held back for a reason, but I need to understand it fully. Show me everything you can." She had kept this part of her life hidden for years. It was not just a talent. It was something rare and powerful. She had feared that showing it could bring danger or unwanted attention. But there was something in his tone that made her feel safe, as if he genuinely wanted to understand and not exploit her. Slowly, she nodded and led him to a quiet room at the back of the house. The room was small and simple, sunlight streaming through large windows. She asked him to sit and observe closely. Then, with careful movements, she began to demonstrate her ability. The billionaire watched in amazement. He had never seen anything like it. It was precise, delicate, and beautiful, but it also carried an emotional depth that touched him deeply. He realized that this talent was not just skill. It was a part of her soul. As she showed him more, he started asking questions. Where did she learn this? Why did she hide it? What did it mean to her? She answered honestly, revealing pieces of her past. How circumstances had forced her to remain quiet, and how she had only used her talent in secret. The billionaire listened carefully, fascinated by her story and her courage. Every answer brought new insights, and he felt a growing respect for her. The more he learned, the more obsessed he became. He could not focus on his usual work. Meetings, phone calls, and business decisions seemed meaningless compared to the mystery he was uncovering. He started keeping notes, making sketches, and researching everything related to her talent. He even looked through old records, trying to find any clue that could connect her past to something he had once known, but forgotten. The maid noticed his intensity. She had seen curious people before, but nothing like this. He was not just intrigued, he was obsessed. She wondered if she had made a mistake by revealing her secret, but she also felt a strange sense of connection. For the first time in her life, someone truly wanted to understand her, not judge her. Over the next few days, their routine changed. He would spend hours with her, observing, asking questions, and learning. She guided him carefully, making sure he understood the limits of her talent and the importance of discretion. She had been cautious for so long, and now she had to trust someone completely. It was both thrilling and frightening. Outside the mansion, the world went on as usual. Business deals, social events, and financial news seemed distant and irrelevant. The billionaire's obsession with her secret created a new purpose in his life. He realized that he had spent so many years chasing success and wealth, but he had ignored the beauty of human connection and the power of hidden truths. As they spent more time together, they also began to share personal stories. She told him about her childhood, the challenges she faced, and the people she had lost. He shared moments from his past that shaped him, moments of loneliness and regret that he had never admitted to anyone. Their bond grew stronger, not because of status or wealth, but because they recognized something real and rare in each other. However, their growing connection did not come without challenges. The billionaire faced moments of doubt. Could he trust her completely? Was this talent truly what she claimed it was? And more importantly, what would happen if the world discovered it? He realized that pursuing this truth might bring risks, but he could not stop himself. His curiosity and admiration had become too strong. The maid also struggled with her feelings. She had always been cautious, always keeping her distance from others to protect herself. Now, she had to navigate trust, fear, and the possibility of change. She was scared of the attention it might bring, but she also felt hope. For the first time, someone saw her for who she truly was. Beyond her role as a maid, one evening, the billionaire asked her to sit with him in the garden. The sky was painted with colors of sunset, and the air was warm and calm. He took a deep breath and said, "I feel like this talent, your story, it is connected to something bigger. I don't know what yet, but I have a feeling that finding the full truth will change my life, and maybe yours too." She looked at him, her heart pounding. She had sensed that he was serious, but hearing it aloud made it real. "I have always feared that someone would misuse it," she admitted. "But with you, I feel ... safe." He nodded. "I promise I will not let anything harm you, but I need to know everything. I need to understand the full story, even if it is difficult." For the next hours, they spoke quietly, sharing fragments of memories, hidden fears, and dreams that had been buried. The billionaire realized that her life was a story of resilience and courage, and he felt inspired by her strength. He also realized that his own life had been incomplete. Missing the warmth and depth that only human connection could provide, days turned into weeks, and their bond grew stronger. The billionaire's obsession with uncovering the full story became a mission. He started planning, investigating, and looking for clues that could connect her past to a larger mystery. The maid, despite her fears, began to trust him completely. She shared details she had never told anyone, and together they pieced together fragments of a story that seemed bigger than either of them. During this time, the billionaire noticed something else. His perspective on life began to change. He had always valued wealth, success, and control. But now, he saw that the most important things were hidden in unexpected places: truth, courage, and trust. He realized that he had been chasing the wrong goals all his life, and this experience was opening his eyes to something far more meaningful. The maid also changed. She felt empowered by his respect and interest. For the first time, she realized that her life did not have to be defined by fear or secrecy. She could embrace her talent, her story, and her identity. And in doing so, she found a sense of freedom she had never known before. As the days passed, small events began to hint at a larger mystery. Old letters, photographs, and personal objects appeared, each suggesting a connection to something lost or forgotten. The billionaire's mind raced with possibilities. He knew that discovering the truth would not be easy, and there would be obstacles, but he was determined. The search had begun, and nothing would stop him. One morning, as they worked together in the library, the billionaire paused, holding a faded photograph in his hand. He looked at the maid, eyes wide with realization. "This is only the beginning," he said. "I can feel it. There is something more, something important. We have to find it." The maid nodded, feeling both excitement and fear. She understood that their journey was just starting, that the hidden truths she had revealed were now opening doors that could not be closed. Together they would face challenges, uncover mysteries, and perhaps find answers that would change their lives forever. As evening fell, they stood in the quiet mansion, both feeling the weight of what was to come. The billionaire knew that his obsession had only begun, and the maid knew that her life had changed in ways she could not yet imagine. The search for the full truth, the mystery behind her talent, and the secrets of the past were now intertwined with their lives, setting the stage for a journey filled with discovery, courage, and unexpected bonds. The billionaire had become consumed by the mystery of the maid's hidden talent. Every spare moment he thought about it, wondering what secrets lay behind her past and what it meant for both of them. He could not focus on business, meetings, or social obligations. The mansion that once felt like a place of power now felt like a quiet cage, and he was restless, pacing from room to room, trying to connect the pieces of the puzzle. The maid, meanwhile, was careful to continue her work, keeping the house running smoothly. She moved through her tasks with her usual precision, but now there was a tension she could not ignore. The billionaire's presence was different. He was no longer distant or detached. He watched her closely, sometimes asking questions, sometimes just observing. She wondered how much he had figured out, and whether revealing more would bring danger or discovery. One afternoon, he asked her to bring old papers, letters, and photographs that she had kept hidden in a small box beneath her bed. She hesitated, knowing that these items held pieces of her life she had never shared with anyone. But she trusted him, and slowly she gathered the items and placed them on a large wooden table in the library. The billionaire examined each piece with care. Some were simple photographs of people she had known. Others were letters from a long-lost family member, and a few were notes detailing her thoughts and experiences over the years. As he studied the materials, his eyes widened. Each item seemed to reveal a new layer, a small clue that connected to something larger. He noticed patterns, small details that others might overlook. The maid watched him, her heart pounding. She realized that he was not just curious. He was methodical, determined, and relentless in his pursuit of the truth. Days turned into nights, and their work continued. Together, they pieced together fragments of the maid's past. They discovered connections to places she had never spoken of, people she had avoided mentioning, and experiences that had shaped her in ways even she had not fully understood. The billionaire was fascinated not only by the hidden talent, but by the strength and resilience that had carried her through life as they worked. They encountered challenges. Some records were missing, letters had faded beyond recognition, and some memories were fragmented or unclear. The billionaire grew frustrated at times, feeling that they were close to understanding something important, yet the pieces refused to fit together. The maid, too, felt the weight of the past pressing down on her. She had feared that someone discovering these truths could bring harm, but she also felt the need to face them, finally and completely. One evening, they discovered a lead that could change everything. An old photograph showed a person she barely remembered, someone who had been part of her early life but had vanished without explanation. The billionaire's eyes lit up with a mixture of excitement and determination. He realized that this could be the key to understanding not only her story, but also a mystery that had lingered in his own life for years. "We have to find them," he said, voice steady and serious. "There is a reason they disappeared, and I believe it is connected to your talent and your past." The maid nodded, feeling both fear and anticipation. She had thought she had left that part of her life behind, but now it was returning, demanding to be faced. She understood that this search would take courage, patience, and careful planning. The billionaire's obsession had become her own, and together they prepared for the journey ahead. They started gathering information discreetly. He used his resources to search records, hire researchers, and follow leads without drawing attention. She provided personal insights, memories, and details that only she could know. Each discovery brought them closer to the truth, but also deeper into a web of complexity that neither of them had anticipated. Along the way, they met people from her past, some friendly, some cautious, and a few who seemed to have secrets of their own. The billionaire observed everything, learning not only about the maid's history but also about human nature, trust, and the lengths people would go to protect themselves or hide the truth. The maid in turn realized that he was not just powerful in wealth, but in understanding, patience, and emotional intelligence. She began to see him in a new light, not as the distant man she had worked for, but as an ally, a partner in uncovering a story that had been hidden for too long. Their bond grew stronger as they navigated these challenges. There were moments of tension, fear, and doubt, but also moments of shared triumph and understanding. They laughed quietly over small discoveries, celebrated the uncovering of clues, comforted each other when the past became overwhelming. The mansion, once a place of solitude, became a center of investigation, reflection, and connection. One night, the billionaire found a small, weathered notebook among the maid's belongings. Its pages were filled with sketches, writings, and symbols that hinted at something larger than herself. He examined it carefully, realizing that it contained information that could unlock the next stage of their search. He looked at her, eyes full of curiosity and determination. "This is important," he said. "This could lead us to the answers we've been looking for." She nodded, a mixture of pride and anxiety on her face. She had always feared that someone discovering this notebook could bring trouble, but now it felt like a tool for understanding, a bridge between her past and the present. Together, they began to decode its contents, interpreting symbols, analyzing notes, and connecting them to the clues they had already gathered. Days passed in a blur of research, discussion, and discovery. They uncovered letters from long-lost relatives, documents detailing events from decades ago, and photographs that suggested connections the maid had never realized. Each finding brought new excitement, but also raised more questions. The billionaire's mind raced with possibilities, imagining what could be hidden just out of reach. Despite the challenges, they made steady progress. The maid began to see the past not as something to fear, but as a puzzle to solve. The billionaire's obsession became a shared mission, one that required trust, intelligence, and patience. They relied on each other in ways that went beyond employer and employee, forming a partnership built on understanding and mutual respect. One afternoon, they received an unexpected message from someone who seemed to know about the maid's past. The message was vague but hinted at important information. The billionaire felt a surge of excitement and apprehension. He knew that following this lead could bring them closer to the truth, but also carry risks they had not yet anticipated. "We have to be careful," he said, examining the note. "But we cannot ignore this. It might be the breakthrough we've been waiting for." The maid agreed, feeling a mixture of fear and hope. She understood that this search had become more than curiosity or obsession. It had become a mission to uncover hidden truths, protect what was important, and finally confront the past that had shaped her life. As evening fell, they sat in the quiet library, surrounded by documents, photographs, and notes. The mansion, once silent and orderly, was now filled with the energy of discovery and anticipation. They both knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, full of unknowns and surprises. But they also understood that together, they could face whatever came next. The billionaire looked at the maid, a sense of respect and admiration in his eyes. "We are getting closer," he said quietly. "I can feel it. The truth is within reach and we will find it." She nodded, her heart filled with a mix of courage and apprehension. She had trusted him with her secret, and now that trust had grown into a shared mission. The past was no longer a burden to bear alone. It was a story to uncover, a mystery to solve, and a path to understanding. That night, as the mansion lay in darkness, both of them felt the weight of the journey ahead. They knew that the next steps would be difficult, and that challenges would arise from unexpected places. But they also knew that they had each other, and that together they could face the unknown. The search for the truth, the unraveling of hidden stories, and the discovery of secrets long buried had become their shared purpose, setting the stage for discoveries that would change their lives forever. The following days were filled with anticipation and tension. The billionaire and the maid worked tirelessly, analyzing every clue they had gathered. Old letters were carefully unfolded, photographs examined with magnifying glasses, and notes meticulously compared. Every detail mattered. They had discovered new leads pointing to places and people from her past that she had long thought lost to time. The maid felt a mix of fear and hope. The past she had tried to forget was now coming alive before her eyes. Each discovery brought memories she had buried, but it also brought clarity. She had carried this burden alone for so many years, and now someone else shared it with her. She could sense that the billionaire felt the weight of this journey just as intensely as she did. His determination was inspiring, but it also reminded her of the stakes. This truth they were chasing could change everything. One afternoon, a breakthrough came unexpectedly. While sorting through a stack of old documents, the billionaire found a letter addressed to her from a person she barely remembered. The letter was faded and worn, but its words carried meaning. It spoke of a promise, a secret kept, and a connection that had been lost for years. The billionaire read it aloud, carefully pronouncing each word, and she listened, tears welling up in her eyes. It was proof that the past she thought was gone was still out there, waiting to be found. The billionaire's mind raced. He realized that this letter was the key to unlocking a much larger story. He studied the handwriting, the paper, and even the way the letter had been folded. He began to see patterns, small hints that connected to other clues they had already discovered. The maid watched him, amazed at his attention to detail. She had never imagined that someone could care so deeply about understanding her past. Yet here he was, fully invested. With renewed energy, they decided to follow the trail. They made plans to visit places connected to the letter, hoping to uncover more about the person who had written it and the secrets it contained. The billionaire used his influence to arrange discreet travel and access to records that were otherwise difficult to obtain. The maid provided insight, remembering small details that had escaped her for years but now seemed crucial. Their journey led them to an old town, where the maid had spent part of her childhood. Walking through familiar streets, she was flooded with memories. The sights, sounds, and smells brought back feelings she had long suppressed. She shared stories with the billionaire, who listened intently, absorbing every word and asking questions that helped them piece together the story. For him, this was no longer just about curiosity. It had become personal. He felt connected to her past in ways he had never imagined possible. At an old, abandoned house at the edge of town, they discovered more clues. Dusty boxes contained photographs, letters, and objects that revealed the lives of people she had known and loved. Each discovery was a revelation, filling gaps in the story she had carried silently. The billionaire carefully documented everything, understanding that these pieces were part of a puzzle that would eventually reveal the truth. The maid was overwhelmed by emotion. Seeing tangible evidence of her past, she realized how much had been lost and how much could still be found. The billionaire noticed her reaction and offered a comforting presence, guiding her through the emotions without judgment. He understood that this journey was as much about healing as it was about discovery. In one of the boxes, they found a small, locked chest. The maid's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were items of personal significance: a bracelet, a photograph of a family member, and a diary. The diary revealed secrets that she had never dared to share, events that explained her hidden talent and the circumstances that had forced her to hide it. She read aloud some passages, and the billionaire listened, absorbing every detail. He realized that the story she had revealed in pieces to him earlier was only a fraction of the truth. The diary painted a complete picture of resilience, courage, and survival. As they continued to uncover the past, they also discovered that there were people who had tried to erase these truths. Some documents had been altered, letters hidden, and evidence removed. The billionaire realized that their search was not only about discovery, but also about uncovering injustice. He felt a strong sense of responsibility to ensure that the Maid's story was honored and protected. During this time, their bond deepened further. The journey brought them closer, not only through shared purpose, but also through trust and understanding. The billionaire admired her courage, strength, and honesty. While she began to see him as more than just a wealthy man, he was someone who could empathize, protect, and support her in ways no one else had. Their relationship was evolving, shaped by mutual respect and shared experience. One evening, after a long day of investigation, they sat together in a small cafe, quietly reviewing the evidence they had collected. The city lights twinkled outside, casting a warm glow on the table. The billionaire spoke softly. "Every piece we find is leading us somewhere. I can feel it. The truth is close, and it will change everything." The maid nodded, feeling both anticipation and apprehension. She had feared that uncovering her past might bring pain or danger, but she also realized that this journey was necessary. She could not ignore the story that had shaped her life. Together, they had the chance to bring it to light, to find closure, and perhaps even to create a new beginning. As the days went on, they traveled to more locations, interviewed people who had known the Maid's family, and continued to uncover fragments of a story that had been hidden for decades. Each discovery brought excitement and a sense of urgency. The billionaire's obsession had transformed into a mission with purpose, and the Maid felt empowered by the support and trust he provided. They faced challenges along the way. Some people were unwilling to talk, memories were unreliable, and some leads turned out to be false. But each obstacle strengthened their determination. They learned to rely on each other's strengths, his strategic thinking and resources, her intimate knowledge and emotional insight. Together, they became an unstoppable team, moving closer to the ultimate revelation. One day, they discovered a letter that revealed a truth that neither had expected. It connected the Maid's hidden talent to a family secret, one that had been kept from her for years. The billionaire read it carefully, understanding the significance, and looked at the Maid with a mix of awe and compassion. This revelation explained not only her past, but also the circumstances that had shaped her hidden abilities. It was a turning point, a moment of clarity that brought both understanding and emotional resolution. The Maid was overwhelmed. Tears filled her eyes as she realized the depth of what had been revealed. The billionaire placed a hand gently on hers, offering comfort and reassurance. He understood that this truth was powerful and transformative. Not just a discovery, but a key to healing and moving forward. As night fell, they returned to the mansion, carrying with them the evidence, letters, and objects they had collected. The billionaire felt a sense of fulfillment and purpose he had not known before. The Maid felt a sense of liberation and hope. Together, they had uncovered truths that had been hidden for decades, faced challenges, and navigated the complexities of the past. In the quiet of the mansion, they reflected on the journey. The billionaire realized that wealth and power could not compare to the value of understanding, trust, and human connection. The Maid realized that sharing her story, once a source of fear, had become a source of strength and empowerment. Their bond, forged through discovery, courage, and mutual respect, became something unbreakable. They knew that there was still more to uncover, but the revelation they had found was a turning point. It marked the beginning of a new chapter, one in which the Maid's hidden talent and her story could finally be acknowledged and honored. The billionaire's search, once driven by curiosity, had transformed into a mission of purpose, one that would lead them to even greater truths. As they prepared for the next stage of their journey, both felt a sense of anticipation and readiness. The past had been revealed in pieces, but together they would face whatever came next. The mansion, once a place of solitude and control, had become a center of discovery, reflection, and connection. The journey was far from over, but the truth they had uncovered had already changed their lives. Setting the stage for revelations that would define their future, the mansion was quiet that morning. But the energy inside was different. The billionaire and the maid had uncovered truths that had been hidden for decades. Their search had revealed secrets, family connections, and a talent that had shaped her life in ways even she had only begun to understand. Now, they faced the moment where all the pieces would come together, and the story that had been fragmented would become whole. The billionaire sat at his desk, examining the documents, letters, and photographs they had collected. Each piece told a part of a story, and he could see how everything connected. The maid stood beside him, her hands folded nervously. She had shared her life with him, revealed what she had hidden for so long, and now the final truth was within reach. "We are close," he said quietly. "I can feel it. One more step, and we will understand everything." She nodded. Her heart was pounding, but she felt a sense of courage she had not known she possessed. The past had been heavy, filled with loss and fear, but now it was guiding them to a future she could finally embrace. She realized that this journey had not only revealed her hidden talent, but had also shown her the value of trust, honesty, and connection. They decided to follow the last lead, a trail that led them to a small town far from the city. The town was quiet, with narrow streets and small houses. It felt like stepping back in time, and for the maid, it brought a mix of nostalgia and apprehension. She had memories of this place, but they were faint, almost buried by the years she had spent trying to forget as they walked through the town. They encountered people who remembered fragments of her past. Some were cautious, others curious, and a few were eager to help. The billionaire observed carefully, asking questions and taking notes. He realized that each interaction was a piece of the puzzle, revealing connections that had been hidden for years. Finally, they arrived at an old house at the edge of town. The windows were dusty, and the paint was peeling, but there was a sense of history, of stories waiting to be told. The maid hesitated at the door, memories flooding back. The billionaire placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will face this together," he said. "Whatever the truth is, we will handle it." She took a deep breath and opened the door. Inside, the house was filled with remnants of the past, old furniture, photographs, and letters. They began to explore carefully, uncovering objects that told the story of her family and the life she had lost. Each discovery brought clarity and emotion, and she felt a sense of connection to the past that she had not felt in years. In a small room at the back of the house, the maid's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were documents that revealed the full truth about her hidden talent and the circumstances that had forced her to keep it secret. There were letters explaining family secrets, photographs showing connections she had never realized, and notes that detailed events from years before. She read the letters aloud, and the billionaire listened, absorbing every word. The truth was powerful and emotional. It explained her past, her abilities, and the challenges she had faced. It also revealed the courage she had shown in surviving and protecting herself through difficult times. The billionaire felt a deep sense of respect and admiration. He realized that this hidden talent, once a mystery, was now a key to understanding not only her life, but also the values of resilience and determination. Together, they pieced together the final story. The maid's past, once fragmented and hidden, became clear. She had faced loss, danger, and secrecy, but she had also shown incredible strength and intelligence. Her talent, once a secret, had been a tool for survival and expression. The billionaire realized that the journey had not only uncovered the truth, but had also changed both of them. He had learned the value of trust, empathy, and human connection. While she had found courage, recognition, and a sense of closure as they left the house. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the town. The maid felt a sense of freedom, a lightness she had not experienced in years. She had faced the past, revealed her story, and found someone who understood and respected her completely. The billionaire walked beside her, a quiet strength in his presence. He knew that their lives had been transformed by this journey, and he felt a deep sense of fulfillment and purpose. Back at the mansion, they organized the documents, photographs, and letters they had collected. The billionaire made plans to honor the story, to ensure that the truth was preserved and respected. The maid felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. She had shared her life, faced her fears, discovered the power of truth and trust. Their relationship had changed profoundly. The billionaire saw her not just as a maid, but as a person of remarkable strength, courage, and talent. She saw him not just as an employer, but as a partner, a protector, and someone who genuinely cared. The bond they had formed was unbreakable, built on shared experience, respect, and understanding. In the following days, they reflected on the journey. They had uncovered secrets, faced challenges, and discovered truths that had been hidden for decades. The past had shaped their lives, but now it had also opened the door to a future filled with possibilities. The mansion, once a place of routine and control, had become a center of discovery, healing, and connection. The billionaire realized that wealth and power were not the most important things in life. What mattered were the connections they formed, the courage to face the truth, and the ability to trust and support one another. The maid understood that her talent and her story, once sources of fear and secrecy, were now sources of strength, recognition, and empowerment. As they sat together in the quiet of the mansion, they knew that their lives had been forever changed. The search for truth had brought them closer, revealed hidden strengths, and created a bond that would endure. The journey had been difficult, emotional, and challenging, but it had also been rewarding, transformative, and deeply human. The final revelation had not only answered questions, but it also provided a sense of closure and new beginnings. The maid felt a sense of peace, knowing that her story was no longer hidden and that it had been respected and honored. The billionaire felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that his pursuit of the truth had led to understanding, connection, and a deeper appreciation of life. Together, they looked toward the future. They knew that challenges would come, but they also knew that they had the strength, trust, and partnership to face them. The hidden truths had been revealed, the mysteries uncovered, and the journey had brought healing and growth. The mansion, once a place of distance and routine, was now a place of understanding, respect, and hope. As the night fell, they stood on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. The journey had started with a secret, a hidden talent, and a story untold. Now it had led to discovery, connection, and a shared purpose. They had uncovered the truth, faced the past, and opened the door to a future filled with possibility. And in that moment, both of them knew that their lives would never be the same again. After the final revelation, life at the mansion began to feel different. The air was lighter, the rooms warmer, and the quiet spaces were now filled with a sense of purpose and possibility. The billionaire had always been a man of routine, but now he found joy in the small moments, walking through the garden, observing the sunset, and talking quietly with the maid about ideas, memories, and dreams. The maid, too, felt a change. For years, she had carried her secrets alone, always cautious and careful. Now, sharing her story and seeing it understood had lifted a weight she did not realize she had been carrying. Her talent, once hidden and feared, was now celebrated and respected. She felt a sense of freedom and confidence that allowed her to move through her days with ease. Creativity and courage, their bond, forged through the trials of discovery and the unearthing of hidden truths, had grown deeper. It was no longer defined by roles of employer and employee, but by mutual respect, understanding, and shared purpose. They had learned to trust one another completely, to rely on each other in ways that went beyond words. Their partnership had become a source of strength, inspiration, and balance. The billionaire began to apply what he had learned from the maid's story to his own life. He realized that true wealth was not measured in money or possessions, but in the connections he formed, the trust he nurtured, and the integrity with which he lived. He became more attentive to the people around him, more compassionate, and more willing to listen. His business dealings, once purely transactional, began to reflect these values. He treated colleagues and employees with respect, and he sought out opportunities to make a meaningful impact in the lives of others. The maid, encouraged by his support and recognition, also found new confidence. She began to explore her talent further, creating works, performing small demonstrations, and helping others in ways she had never dared to before. People who witnessed her skill were amazed, not only by the technical aspects, but by the emotion and depth she conveyed. It was a gift that touched hearts, inspired creativity, left a lasting impression. Together, they initiated a project that combined their strengths. The billionaire provided resources, guidance, and strategic planning, while the maid contributed creativity, insight, and emotional intelligence. Their collaboration led to initiatives that helped the community, supported those in need, and created opportunities for others to discover and nurture their own hidden talents. The mansion, once a place of solitude and secrecy, became a hub of innovation, learning, and inspiration. Despite the progress, challenges still arose. Not all aspects of the maid's past could be fully reconciled. There were questions about family members, distant connections, and unresolved matters that required patience and careful navigation. The billionaire stood by her side, offering support, protection, and guidance. They faced these challenges together, learning that courage and determination were strengthened by trust and partnership as they continued to explore these unresolved elements. They uncovered stories that connected the maid's past to wider historical events and communities. Each discovery brought perspective, helping her understand not only her own experiences, but also the impact they had on others. The billionaire saw these discoveries as lessons in empathy, resilience, and the interconnectedness of human lives. Through this process, both of them began to reflect on the journey they had undertaken. They remembered the first moment she had revealed her secret, the nights spent piecing together fragments of the past, and the discoveries that had led to emotional breakthroughs. They recognized that the journey had changed them in fundamental ways. Fear and secrecy had been replaced by courage and honesty. Distance had been replaced by connection. Uncertainty had been replaced by understanding. They also recognized the importance of sharing their story, not in a way that exposed private details unnecessarily, but in a way that inspired others to seek their own truths, embrace their talents, and connect with those around them. They spoke at small gatherings, mentoring individuals and groups who were looking to uncover hidden potential in themselves and others. The billionaire's experience showed the value of empathy and support, while the maid's story illustrated the power of courage and authenticity. As months passed, life settled into a rhythm that was both productive and meaningful. They continued their work together, balancing personal growth, professional endeavors, and community engagement. The mansion was alive with activity. People came to learn, to share, and to be inspired. The walls that once echoed only with silence now resonated with laughter, conversation, and creativity. The maid found herself mentoring others, guiding them to discover hidden skills and encouraging them to overcome fear and doubt. She had become a symbol of resilience, showing that past struggles could be transformed into strength. The billionaire, in turn, became a figure of support and leadership, demonstrating that wealth and influence could be used to uplift and empower. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the balcony, they reflected quietly. The journey had started with a single truth, a hidden talent, and a secret shared in confidence. It had led to discoveries that transformed their lives, deepened their connection, and created opportunities for others. The billionaire spoke softly. "I never imagined that one secret could change so much. It has reshaped everything about how I see life and what I value." The maid smiled, feeling a profound sense of peace. "And I never imagined that sharing my story would open doors I had closed for so long. It has given me freedom and purpose." They knew that life would continue to present challenges, but they were ready. They had learned to face the unknown with courage, to rely on each other, and to embrace truth as a guiding force. Their journey had shown that even the deepest secrets could lead to growth, understanding, and connection when approached with trust and respect in the quiet moments that followed. They sat together, reflecting on the lessons of the past, the accomplishments of the present, and the possibilities of the future. The mansion, once a place of routine and isolation, had become a home of discovery, learning, and inspiration. The journey had revealed hidden truths, nurtured talents, and forged a bond that would endure. The billionaire and the maid understood that life was a series of discoveries, challenges, and connections. Each moment held the potential for growth. Each relationship offered the chance for understanding, and each truth, no matter how hidden, could illuminate the path forward. They had uncovered their own stories, supported each other through fear and uncertainty, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever. As night fell and the city lights shimmered below, they looked ahead with hope and determination. The journey of discovery was ongoing, but they were ready to embrace whatever came next. They knew that hidden truths, once revealed, could transform lives not just their own, but the lives of everyone they touched. And in that understanding, they found a sense of fulfillment, purpose, and lasting connection that would guide them for years to come.